She's my IT lady. Okay, Georgina, I know very well. She's on the call with us. She is going to watch the chat for me. She's very kind. There's going to be a couple of questions I'm going to ask you to kick everything off. So please do use the chat just so that we can get a feel for why you're here and also, you know, what you would like to really pick up for and how you're feeling. So a couple of questions to start off. How do you feel about the following? You would love to be confident in the value that you provide, but A, you feel people buy mainly on price. B, you are too quick to offer a deal to get new clients. Or C, you struggle to put your value into words. Drop your A, B's and C's. You can put all three if they all apply to you, but pop them into the chat. It's very useful for me to start to see where people are struggling, where people are feeling either confident or not so confident. Oh my goodness, all of these C's, have you seen these C's? You're struggling to put your value into words. This is so interesting. Don't understand B, right? You're too quick to offer a deal to get new clients. Basically, this is where, Jen, we're thinking about a price. Is obviously the webinar's called The Price is Right. So we're talking around price. B just means that there's that real fear around quoting your price. So you're always thinking, what deal can I offer? And that's your first thought rather than looking at it a different way. And I'm going to talk about some of those things in the webinar. So hopefully that's helped to explain. Thank you for that. I've got one more question. Well, I've got two more questions. This next one says, you have many ways to help people, but you find that A, you can't always think on your feet about what to offer. You're trying to just sell one product, which is really expensive, or you tailor to suit the customer and then you get confused on pricing. And these will all tie into the things we're going to talk about tonight, which is why I'm asking the questions. Oh my goodness, we've got A, B and C's coming in there. And it's okay if it's all of them. That's okay. This is for me to just get a feel. Because these are very real problems and challenges that we have, and they're things I'm very familiar with for myself as much as my clients in the past. I've had these things myself. So, and Heidi says none, I don't think. That's good, Heidi. That's positive, because then that means potentially you've moved a bit further down with how you do this. Brilliant. Thank you so much. And the next question then, your worst nightmare is when someone asks price on a discovery call because A, you're worried they will run when they hear the price. You don't know how to start that conversation. Or C, you feel out of control and lost. Any of those three apply. A-ish mostly, but not hugely. Good, we've got a couple of nuns there, that's good. Great. Georgina, these have come through quite quickly. Somebody put none and then they put a but. Did you see that one? I didn't get to read that. Do you want to just unmute and tell us what that one was about?
Just scrolling myself.
They come in very quick, don't they?
Somebody's put D, waiting for them to pull that I can't afford it face, but try and stay polite. None, but maybe when I put my prices up.
Great. Okay. And what would it be once you put your prices up, whoever that was? Would it be all of them? A. Okay. Wonderful. Thank you so much for those. So one final thing, what do you actually want to get from the session? You obviously decided this was going to be of interest to you. Was there something specific that you've come here to hear or to learn? And the reason I ask that is because if I don't cover it in the content, I would really like to try and cover it in the Q&As at the end at least. Am I charging enough? That's so interesting, isn't it? Motivation. Lovely. These are brilliant. Confidence that my rates are right. Confidence and clarity, selling without pressurizing. Wonderful. Great. Brilliant. Love this, guys. Thank you so much. So look, the thing about tonight is that we do only have an hour, and I can't tell you everything about pricing because, my goodness, what a huge subject pricing is. So I've broken it into 3 core things that I want to cover, and I hope that you just get some golden nuggets from this. I've already said to Eleanor, who's on the call, because she's somebody that I work with and I talk to a lot, I think this could be 2, if not 3 webinars, if I'm really honest, once I started to put the content together. So let's see how we get on. Let's see what we decide to cover. And this was what I had picked out for you. So how to achieve the right mindset and silence an inner critic so you can price with confidence and get paid what you deserve. The second thing was how to dig deep into your clients' wants and needs so that you can better understand them and effortlessly apply value pricing. There was another element that we want to cover, which is the real difference between price and value, and it's probably not what you think. And then how to effectively deal with prices on discovery calls. Now, hang on a sec, because Vanessa's put something about the slides. Let me just see. I can't actually do that. Sorry, Vanessa. I'll tell you why, because they're in my background. So I can't actually change the size of them, but I can send you some copies of the slides if that's helpful. So if anybody wants that, please just let me know in the comments and I'll make sure you get some. So they're the 3 things that we're going to cover. Oh, and plus we're going to look at how to effectively deal with prices on discovery calls. So I'm going to help you to think differently, because that's what I'm all about. I do not want to give you textbook answers, but I do want to address the fact that pricing is very subjective. Pricing to everybody will be different. Pricing and how we feel about pricing to everybody will be different. And this is where lots of the elements of this start to come into play. So hello and welcome. Here's a little bit about who I am. I am known as, for fun, the real Dragon Slayer, because if you're not from the UK, you may have something like Shark Tank in your country, but we have Dragon's Den here. And I actually went into the Dragon's Den in 2005 and got investment from Peter Jones for a business called Truly Madly Baby. And that was one of the real highlights and exciting parts of my career. But I have had 30 years in sales, selling all sorts of things from yellow pages to stainless steel, recruitment products, exhibition stands, etc., etc. And Truly Madly Baby was a retail business, so I was selling B2C. So lots of different experience in lots of different ways and lots of different industries. I love that I've had that experience, because it means then I can look at it in that big picture place and say, right, well, what is sales all about? And ultimately, I created Live It, Love It, Sell It, because sales is actually predominantly about people. And so the more you follow me, if you're new to me, you'll get to hear and see how I talk about sales. And tonight, obviously, we're talking about pricing. The Price is Right is the title, but is it really all about just price? Actually, it's a lot of other things that then end up with a price, is my opinion. So how to achieve the right mindset and silence the inner critic, because actually we all have huge fear around price. What we really want to do is feel confident about our price, but also we want to get paid what we deserve. You know, we have a figure in our mind as to what we're worth, what our value is, but it's not just a one-way conversation, because value is very much about what your client thinks value is as well. So your mindset is a choice. I do a lot of work around mindset in some of my other webinars, which you will get links to catch up on if you've not seen them. You'll see I talk about mindset a lot, because it is a choice. We decide whether we're frightened of things or not, and we decide why we are. So 3 questions when we start getting those inner critic things around price have to be, what are you really scared of? And why does it scare you? And do you have a choice about that fear? So 3 questions to always visit if you're finding that you're actually struggling with these sort of gremlins around price. Guys, if you can mute, that would be wonderful, because we've just got a little bit of background noise going on. So that would be fab. So 3 questions. As I say, I'll send these slides so you can actually look back at these questions so you can revisit them. I would just always keep them in mind. Here's some things to give you confidence. The first thing, your experience. Right, so whatever it is that you're doing right now, your business may be related to something that you've done for many years. In which case, don't suddenly forget all of the years' experience you have that lead up to you running your business today. And the second thing about this is if your business is in a new dimension or a brand new thing that you've not done before, you haven't lost the experience that you gained in the lead up to doing it. And that experience is huge value to other people. Everything you know adds value. When I wrote my book, decided halfway through I wouldn't write it anymore, because what I said was, everybody knows this stuff. This is rubbish. Actually, the fact is that not everyone knew what I knew about sales, and not everybody knows the things that you've learned in your journey through your life and your career. So this is a really big piece of mindset, of confidence, of mapping out exactly what it is that you bring. And in my book and in my sessions and other webinars, I talk about things like values and strengths. Those are the places to visit when you start to want to build the confidence in order to be able to just sell your products and price your products with confidence and show your value. So everything you know adds value. What else? Productization. Some of you may sell a tangible product, in which case it's slightly easier for me to see it, to possibly feel it, touch it, watch it work. You will still potentially need to think about productizing in terms of having different models of that product for me to have a choice in how I buy. Now, if you come to a service, then actually what happens is you don't have a tangible product. So productization for you is incredibly important in order for you to start creating the confidence around how you sell and giving yourself a structure as to what it is you actually sell to your customers. We're going to touch on that a little bit later in the webinar so that I dig a little bit deeper into what I mean by productization. But it is absolutely a piece of the puzzle that helps you to suddenly have a confidence in your mindset as to knowing exactly what it is that you sell and exactly how you serve your customers. Make it easy for your customers to buy. And again, we're going to touch on some of that in a minute. But actually, we have various things as humans that mean if we're overwhelmed with choice, often we actually won't buy. So we're going to talk about that as well in a minute. The other thing you can think about is creating what I call a value ladder. And if you have heard of this, brilliant. But what it does again is it looks at the products that you sell. You then do your productization, and then you start to build the products in order of having a very entry point product, can even be a free lead magnet, if any of you use those, to your high-end product, which is the most expensive product in your range. And that's what we call a value ladder. And it looks like this in terms of every step of that staircase means that you're going to start with something that's of a low value and a low price, and you're building to your highest value and your highest price product or program, whatever it is that you decide to create at the very top of your value ladder. And again, I'm going to revisit this in a minute because I'm going to tell you even more exciting things about why we do this stuff. But this is where you will build your mindset and confidence when you come to pricing. Ultimately, you'll stop thinking about the number because you'll be talking about the message and the connection to the ideal customer, and then the value that actually you both feel that that product or program gives that end user, that end customer. Here's an example of a story of a client of ours called Advantia. Now, they provide business supplies membership. So if you have an office furniture company or you sell stationery, for instance, you can join the membership of this company, and they give you all sorts of benefits like great pricing, marketing materials, etc., IT solutions. These guys did a lot of work on their messaging, on their products, and they did it with a consultant who left them all feeling quite confused about what they were selling. They didn't feel like they connected to the message in any way. It felt very corporate and it felt very salesy. So when we started the work, we started to strip it back into being a human message. So looking at the ideal customer and actually looking at what problem it is that you really solve and building it back. There's lots of methods I use, and I'm going to mention a couple in this webinar. The point about this story is these guys had no confidence in how they were going to present the message around their product and the value that they gave. And so all of a sudden, the price, which was one price and only one kind of membership, was really hard for them to sell. They now have 3 different levels of membership, very well defined as to what you get in each one. And the message is all about your extended business supplies family. And they just needed to feel that family piece. And all of a sudden they were flying. They knew exactly what they stood for. They knew exactly who they were talking to, and they knew what they were offering. The sales are going through the roof. Literally, they had a target to the end of the year and they're well on their way to over half of it already. That's not just because of the work I've done, but it is influenced by the fact that they've really looked at these key areas I've just talked about, which are the ones that gave them the confidence. And that's what I want you guys to come away with at the end of this webinar. It's the key nuggets that you can go away and work on that give you the confidence to price without worrying about what that number looks like. Belief starts with you, and everyone else will join in. And this is true. If you don't believe in the price that you're quoting me, I'm going to know. And so I'll probably start saying, well, can you do it for any less? And I'll start negotiating. But you have to present that price and also the value with confidence. And you need to believe in it, because if you don't, your customers won't. So your mindset is key. It's a place to work on. Values, your strengths, your message, what you stand for, your why, as Simon Sinek would say. You have to understand that you are in control of your mindset, and you need to silence the critics by putting into place key areas that mean that you're very clear on what you're selling, why you're selling it, and who you're selling it to. So how do we dig deep into your clients' wants and needs so that you can better understand them and then effortlessly apply value pricing? So value pricing is talked about quite a lot. You might hear it thrown around. We always talk about value. It's a biggie. But actually, value is not a one-way street. So I could tell you that everything I do is super value. It's brilliant. It's the best value in the world. But if you don't believe that, and if I don't understand what you believe value to look like, then I can't connect those 2 value pieces together. And that's where the magic happens. So value pricing is all well and good, but you need to understand your customer. Without understanding what value means to your customer, you are never going to be able to understand whether your price has value. And actually, let's get rid of the price word even. Whether your product has value. I've done several surveys on other webinars where I've asked 3 questions about if you had a considered purchase that you needed to make, which order would you put these 3 things in? One is price, one is the value, and one is the person you buy from. And it is constant that price is the 3rd choice of those 3. Some people choose it first, but on a considered purchase, it's often value that hits the spot at the top, and actually so does the person that you buy from. So we are very interesting as humans, the way that we buy. I talk about this a lot. If you watch any of my webinars already, you know I'm going to say this, but unless you step into the world of your customer and you truly find out what value means to them and what they need, and actually what problem you're solving for them, you cannot even start to bring any value. And with value, then you can add a price. It's a little bit like supply and demand when you think about it. So if something really holds value to your ideal audience, they will find more money to pay for it because they see the value in the long term, and it will come back tenfold probably to most people for what you're going to supply to them. So let's talk about customer psychology. This bit is so fascinating. Absolutely a webinar in its own right, but I decided I still wanted to talk about it. So I'm going to tell you about some customer psychology. And basically, this is the bronze, silver, gold type model. Ultimately, what we like as humans is threes. Some of you will recognize that. Some of you will go, yes, yes, that's me. I get that. But when we have a choice of three, it's our absolute ideal. And when we were children, our stories often had three in, three bears, the three kings, the three wise men, etc., etc. We like threes. So the bronze, silver, gold methodology, thought process actually is really relevant when you start thinking about understanding value pricing. Now, you need to do a lot of stuff to lead up to this. You need to understand your ideal customer, and you need to understand the problem that you're solving. But let's suggest that those bits are bits you've done. And if you haven't, then that's definitely something I can help with. And the membership I'm going to talk about covers all of those lovely things for you. But there's lots of reasons why you can create 3 different packages, 3 different types of product, because you can do all of these lovely things with them. So if you have, actually just out of interest, is there anyone in the webinar who has a physical product business? If you can just say hi me, so I can see how many people are actually selling product rather than service. Yes, Caroline. Caroline, what is it that you sell? Liz? Afternoon tea boxes, okay. Handmade jewelry, excellent. Stationery and workshops, yeah, I get yours, Sarah, because I know you as well. So when you've got a physical product, you can still do this. You can either produce a product that is an economy type of product and a premium type of product, for example, or what you can do, which is really exciting with product, is you can bundle. So you can create bundles of products. And that's something I used to do with Truly Madly Baby. I would create bundles of products in order to create a different value ladder, if you like, for people to have choice of. And for me, it gave me a higher ticket price for a product because I was putting things together. If you're selling a service, you can do exactly the same. So you start thinking about that first bronze type package. What does it look like? What does it have in it? What does your silver package have in it? Do you add in perhaps a one-to-one coaching session extra? If you have a book, do you add in a book? There's lots of ways that you can add value into your bronze, silver, and gold packages. I'm calling them that just for the sake of the webinar. Please don't call them a bronze, silver, and gold package. We can be more creative than that. But for the purpose of us understanding this and the psychology of it, we're going to call them bronze, silver, and gold. Now, here's the thing. When you've got 3 packages like that, you can test them. You can start to see who's buying which packages the most. You can start to see what bits of each package people seem to use and what bits they don't. And you can tweak those packages. I call it reviewing and refining, review, refine, because that's what this is all about. Never make something and keep it the same forever, because we all change and life changes. But testing packages really is very, very good for your business in terms of you understanding your buying behavior and the psychology of your customers. So when you have a bronze, silver, gold, you can test the packages. Also, here's the other thing that you can start to do, and this is value ladder territory that I talked about. You can capture more of your market at different stages. So for example, I might have somebody who is not long started a business, but they definitely don't want to have a one-to-one coaching program, and they certainly may not have a budget for a one-to-one training program, but they might have enough to buy a book. They may have enough to join the membership. They may have enough to do a group program. That's where your value ladder kicks in, and that's where you're able to capture more of your market at different stages. That doesn't mean lots of different people. That means your ideal customer but at different stages in their journey. And that's really important to remember. Don't try and sell to everybody. Your ideal customer, stay in your lane, is still very important. It's just that they'll be at different stages. The other thing that this does, if you've got, say, a bronze, silver, gold option, it means that they may well choose between you and you rather than you and your competitor. If you're just trying to sell one product all the time, you've got one chance. And if that product doesn't suit, then the customer will go and search for someone else who's got something that's more in tune with what they want. But if you have 3 different offerings of some sort, then they're more likely to stay with you. I've had people work up my value ladder by starting with the book and then coming right through to doing a whole day with me. And they did that over time. But without my product set out in that way, the productization part, I wouldn't necessarily have kept those customers for such a long time. So here's the thoughts around the gold, silver, gold. Let's think about this. This is a story about a $1,000 burger, a true story from a coach I listened to on a podcast who talked about a restaurant in Hawaii where they sold a burger which cost $1,000. Wow, who would pay $1,000 for a burger? And that's exactly what the guy asked in this restaurant to the owner. Why do you have this on the menu? Who is going to pay $1,000 for a burger? Well, he said, in 5 years, he said, I have sold $3,000 burgers. And it's astounding, really, when you think about it. But what does this then do to the psychology of a customer? It creates desire. It means that that person may just sit in the restaurant and say, I'm going to save up so that one day when I come here, I'm going to buy that $1,000 burger. And whilst this is quite an extreme example, you all have a $1,000 burger in your portfolio that you can create. And having it there creates that top benchmark, the desire, the thing that most people will want to strive to actually achieve. So always think about that when you're thinking about the bronze, silver, gold, is that gold is there for a reason to absolutely drive desire. Silver, interesting really, and I'm sure you've probably guessed this, but this is where most people will go because they don't really want to have the cheapest and they probably don't want to or even can't afford at the moment to have the most expensive. So by giving this 3 choice, they will very likely pick that middle option. And look what happens when you see some of the software. I think this particular one is Calendly. Look what they put there in very small, subtle writing, most popular in that middle column. So what they're saying to you is, everybody else is buying this one, so you should have this one really. And of course, psychology says, well, we better have that if everyone else is buying it, because there must be something good about it. And that's what psychology is all about when it comes to pricing and when it comes to creating your productization of the offering that you have. So can you see how this is really not even about price right now? This is so much more about the way that you offer and package what you do, who you're selling it to, and making sure that you're solving a problem for the right type of person. This stuff's wonderful. I love this stuff. So this is where most people will go. But look, let's not ignore the bronze, because the bronze has its place. It's the first step on the ladder. It's the chance to try. It's an entry-level product. And guess what else it does? It builds trust. And this is so important. We absolutely buy from people, but we buy from people that we trust. So if we want to try that very first product on the ladder, that bronze product, that's a great thing to be able to do. And if we don't have it to offer people, then unfortunately, they'll probably go somewhere else where someone may well. Eleanor says, I'll buy anything with a dog image. Me too. I love that. The other thing that you need to think about is have some fun around this. This is really important. Name these levels. So remember, I said to you, don't call them bronze, silver, and gold. Get exciting, make fun names about them, you know, evolve, inspire package. You know, you can really play about with emotional names to make people desire to buy that package. People like names. So when you do this, think about, I talk about Hell and Heaven in some of my other webinars. And if you haven't seen them, do go and have a look when I send through some links for you. And Hell and Heaven is about looking at the hell of your ideal customer before you've worked with them and their emotional state. Okay, this is all about emotion. And the heaven is how they feel once they've worked with you. So your names that you might pick could be really centered around what you know about the pain and fear and challenges, and maybe even the heaven of your ideal customer. So think about those lovely names and get creative. You will stand out from the crowd and you will create a desire. I want that package. It's got a fabulous name. It's everything I want to be. So that's the one I'm going to buy. So think about how we can really tap into this psychology, which I just adore. Here's the thing, decision fatigue. Okay, you may have heard of this, but the quality of our decisions go down hugely by the number of decisions that we have to make. And I am the first one to tell you all that if there's too much choice, I actually often would walk out of a shop and actually not buy. I get bored. I don't want to see 100 things because I get confused and then I can't decide what I want. So decision fatigue is a real thing. And again, go back to having the few options. So threes are great. If you want to push up to 5, great, that's fine. You can go over 3. 3 is the magic number. But when you start offering 10 different things, you can start to get into a real turmoil for your poor customer who actually wants to buy from you. So think about decision fatigue as well. This was a comment from a survey that was done all around this subject of psychology around pricing and sales. The single biggest driver of stickiness, which means that, the reason why we're actually going to stay and buy something by far, was decision simplicity. This is the ease with which consumers can gather trustworthy information about a product and then confidently and efficiently weigh their purchase options. What consumers want from marketers is simplicity. So when you're thinking about your packages, keep them simple. When you're thinking about the names of them, connect them to the emotions of your ideal customers. And when you're thinking about the messaging around them, it's exactly the same thing. What do you know about their hell and what do you know about their heaven? And create that value journey. So the messaging becomes all about what they're going to get as an outcome, as opposed to how much this costs. This is really important. Just quickly on the Truly Madly Baby story, there's 2 things. The first one is that when I had consultants who could buy into being a party consultant, I called them. So they could go out, buy a kit, go out and do the parties and get their sales. And the kits came in 3 different price points. So again, already back then, I recognized this 3s. So you could have that cheaper entry point, a midpoint, and a gold kind of package. That really worked well. And pretty much I had 432 consultants in year 3 doing the parties. I would say 70% of those had silver packages. And that just shows you that this stuff is absolutely true. The second thing is on stock was that I knew, because of my wonderful father, who I talk about a lot, who just had a complete retail mind. He was brilliant. I knew exactly what people bought. If I'd go into the warehouse and say to my dad, what do we need to order? He'd say, don't order pinks, just get blues. And all the time he was guiding me with stock, that I didn't stock every color in every size, in every single, pattern. It was about what customers really loved. And the simplicity of our stock range was why we had so much success. And we were literally in the days when it was pinks, blues, and yellows, and whether that's right or wrong, and whether that's even changed now, which it might well have done, the simplicity of that was what got us through. Couple of boys shades, couple of girls shades. And I'm not saying, again, things have changed, obviously, but that's how it was and that's how it worked. So you need to know what your audience wants today. So John Lewis, I think not long ago, created a range which was for boys and girls. so they could have, anyone could buy it, you know, they knew what their audience needed and wanted. But keep those choices to that simple minimum so that people aren't overwhelmed with what they can buy from you. The big message in all of this is that people equal revenue, and note what comes first. We often drive and look at price, we often drive and look at targets, and actually it's the people who will bring the money. So put your emphasis on the people side and the prices will come. For prices, you can do all sorts of things like looking at market levels, what other competitors are charging. Those are guidelines for you. Don't be frightened to do that stuff. But please make sure that when you're quoting your prices, you absolutely are comfortable with them. They feel right and they feel good. And all of this stuff is why they will feel right. Looking at all of these elements first. So how to dig deep into your clients' wants and needs so you can better understand them and effortlessly apply value pricing is all about this stuff. Choice. Don't overwhelm. Make sure that you understand who your ideal customer is and the problem that you solve, and create that value ladder so that you can serve your bigger world of your market rather than just one particular product at one price. And so how to effectively deal with prices on discovery calls. So this is a really big one. I get asked it a lot, and discovery calls have a real certain way to them in terms of, I think, how you can set them out. One of the things I did think I might do is actually a webinar about discovery calls. I think it would be a great subject to just do a webinar on purely discovery calls. So if you like the idea of that, then just say yes in the comments, because I'd be happy to do that for you. So 65.2% of buyers said that they found value in discussing their situations with salespeople. This is brilliant. So the myth that nobody wants to be sold to and nobody wants to speak to a salesperson, well, it's probably true if you're a pushy salesperson, but actually buyers want guidance, buyers want advice, and buyers definitely want to think, what is my option? What is the best option for me? This is really interesting. And I think the other thing about this is you are all buyers. So think about that. Put yourself in the shoes of the buyer. How do you buy? Would you like to discuss something with someone if you're buying, making a considered purchase? Yes, absolutely. I would like to look at what my options are for sure. I said for sure when you typed that, Lois. That was funny. We are birthday sisters. Lois was born on the same day as me. Just to make sure I tell the audience that. But I am apparently, I think, are you older than me, Lois? I think you're older than me. A few hours. So discovery calls. The key thing about discovery calls is actually, as much as I hate the sound of what I'm about to say, it is about keeping control in a discovery call, because one of the reasons we get really in a pickle and we get the fear factor is because we feel like we've lost control of the conversation. And that magic question, well, how much does it cost, which can often come quite near the beginning of a discovery call, is the one that sends us right over the edge, puts us down to our knees praying above that we can get through this call. And often we get caught throwing prices in the air at that point. And the key thing for you to know is you don't need to do that. The way to cover that question, if it comes early, is very simply, I'm going to tell you all about the packages I offer and what I can offer, you know, for what you need. When we finish chatting, please don't worry about that. I will cover that for you. I want to know a little bit more about you first. And that's just beautifully sidestepped. And I think it's really important that you do that, because how can you quote someone when you don't even know anything about them and actually what they need? And I say you have to acknowledge the hell in order to sell. And by that, I mean that if you don't know why that person needs your help and what problem they need solving, you can't possibly start to quote a price. All right. So hold back, hold that confidence. And even if you want to say it that way, I really want to find out exactly what it is you need before I start to tell you all about my prices, so that I recommend exactly the right thing for you. Very important. keep control, and take those people in your discovery calls on a value journey where you're understanding and acknowledging that hell, and you're then moving them into the heaven of what you offer in your business. And then you can start to do whatever you like in terms of quoting prices. But I've got a couple of things for you to think about with that too. Here's some questions that will really help you to take the scent away from how much something costs to you really understanding whether that customer's going to actually buy from you and whether they really have a need that you can help them with. And again, I'll send you these slides so you've got these. So how important is it to you to solve this challenge, Mr. Customer? How important is this to you? That's so good to know about your customer. It does actually usually sort out, you know, the people who are perhaps not ready to buy from the people who really want your help right now. What difference would what I offer make to your business? What difference would what I offer make to your business? Because on a discovery call, they will have already done some research into actually what you do. And that's then finding out where they see value. This is the important bit. If you can find out what value means to the customer, you can then be in a really confident place to quote price based on the fact that you can fulfill that value in your product. Tell me more about the impact that this work or product will actually have for you. So you want to dig deep again, emotions. What's the impact this is going to have? Why are you going to invest money in this? How, you know, tell me where it's important and why it's important. Why is it important to change things now? Here's another magic question. When you add the now on the end, you're starting to find out whether they're ready to buy now or whether they're just actually finding out information for the future. Okay, these are great qualifying questions, and they're great questions to see whether you can find out what the value your customer thinks you have to offer them. And what happens if you don't do anything? This is a great question. Not everyone feels brave enough to ask this one, but it sure is a great question, because it means what happens if you don't act. And if the answer is, well, we'll be okay for 12 months, again, you've got some time scales. Again, you can see what you've actually got to do in terms of nurturing and how you've got to work and create that relationship with the customer. So I had a client who worked with me not long ago who sells really beautiful products into retail shops, and she has really great values attached to, thank you, Eleanor, really great values attached to the product, like equality, like vegan, they were vegan, like the way that they're made, sustainability, really great qualities to the product that she sells. And she 150%, I know there's no such thing, believes in her products and says, this is the value of what I do. And when she goes to a retailer, she tells them all about those qualities, the ones that she believes are the reason to buy her product, the values she believes in. Unfortunately, what she didn't do, and the bit she was missing, which she now does do, is she started to do this without finding out what her customer thought value was. And so all of a sudden there were the knockbacks, and all of a sudden there's no margin in this for me. And actually, I don't think I'll sell these. I don't think this product's right for me. And there's a big piece here of that connection and understanding what your customer thinks value is. Because if it is vegan and it does cover sustainability and equality, but you're selling to a customer who won't pay over £20 for a garment, and you can't actually buy it at less than £25 as a cost, you don't have a match. The values are not matching, no matter how much you think they should. And so this ideal customer work's really important. And so with the discovery call part, when they're starting to tackle things like price, if you've really found out what they think value is before you even quote your prices, you're actually going to be in the right ballpark if they're your ideal customer. And if they're not, you can tell very quickly. And how many of you have ever sat and actually said to a customer, do you know what? I don't actually think I can help you, but I do have somebody I could refer you to. And I know there are people in this webinar who have told me they've done that. And that is great business. As much as it feels really weird that you may turn business away, it is really important that you understand you don't have to be the cheapest, and you do not have to suddenly knock down your prices. It means that your customer is not potentially your ideal customer. Okay. So do not discount. I need to write a song about this, I think. Do not discount. And what I mean by this is that we are very, very quick. A lot of us are really quick when we've done a discovery call to suddenly say, so the normal price is £2,000, but I can do it for you for 1,700, you know, and we've said it before the customers even asked for anything. They didn't even ask for a discount, and it suddenly came out my mouth, you know. And I've seen those scenarios, and in the early days of selling, I have done those scenarios for sure. Hold back, breathe, do not discount. You do not have to discount. You have a choice with discounting. And for one, don't call it discount, because every time the customer comes, they'll expect that you can do the same again. What you do is you create desirable offers. So a founder's price, a beta price, an introductory price, a going back to school price. You know, we see these all the time, but I like those because they're positioned very specifically for a special period of time. And that is the time you can get it at that price, which means you don't expect it all the time. If you just do discount, use the word discount, I'm going to expect to be able to barter with you to get a discount every time. And that's just my experience in sales. So if you want to do a lower price or a first offer price, I'm going to put a special offer out tonight for you guys. It is specially for this webinar. It is not a price you'll get every day. And that's really important. This is back to psychology. Instead of discounting, why not add value? So why not think about what it is you're selling? How can I add something else to make it feel even more value? So I could, as I mentioned earlier, I could add a book in, or I could add a coaching session in. I think there's a lady said she does afternoon tea packages. Forgive me if I've said that wrong. I suspect you can add extra lovely things into that for people if that's what you think you need to do. Don't ever think you have to do anything, by the way. But if you ever want to just do something extra because it's the first time someone's bought from you, don't go the discount. Go the other way and add value, because you will keep huge credibility for doing that. And use this phrase. This is the magic phrase. What I'm going to do for you is. So you've done your questions in your discovery call. You've come to the point where you diverted that cost question that they asked right at the beginning. What you say is, what I'm going to do for you is I'm going to put together, and this is, you can do what you like from here on in, but I'm going to put together a proposal for you, and I'm going to base it on everything we've just talked about. And I'll give you my recommendation as to how we can work together to get the outcome that you desire. Okay, that's ultimately what you want to be saying at the end of a discovery call. And if needs be that they push and push and push for price, then remember what you've already done, because you've already created your productization. And so if you need to, you can present them with your bronze, silver, and gold. And you can recommend, based on the conversation, that they look at your gold package, knowing full well that they'll probably pick your silver one. Now, I know I've said all that quite hypothetically, but believe you me, there's so much more reality to that than you even know. Because if I could tell you the number of discovery calls I've done and meetings, well, I can't even count in 30 years, many, 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 many. And I know exactly how these go, which is why, again, I would be really happy to look at doing a detailed webinar on discovery calls. So how to effectively deal with prices on discovery calls, sidestep them. You're in control. Yes, Mr. Customer, I'm going to tell you all of that. But first of all, I want to talk about you. And then you hit them with your questions to establish value, necessity, urgency, all those lovely things. Then what I'm going to do for you, Mr. Customer, is, and then you can deliver however you want to deliver, via a written proposal, via a conversation where you put your bronze, silver, gold, whatever you want to do. All right. You are in control of your discovery call more than you even realize. Believe you me. Oh, and by the way, I hadn't forgotten this bit, because the real difference between price and value, and probably not what you think, or maybe it is you. You are your greatest asset. Think about everything we've talked about in this webinar. The fact that you're going to create your own bespoke, wonderful products. You're going to create productization of those products because you understand your customer. You know your ideal customer. So that's the work that you have to do if you haven't done it already. Thank you, Lois. Yeah, it's a bit different, actually. I shouldn't stand by the side of that picture. But I think it's really important to understand we get very hung up on price, as in the number. Price is price, but actually what's more important is the value you bring and connecting that value to the customer, what they think is value, and you as a person. People will buy you because you've been uniquely you, your UHP, your unique human proposition, as I like to call it. So what would it mean if you were able to have more confidence when pricing and productize your offerings and stay in control of your discovery calls and be supported by like-minded community of entrepreneurs? And here is the magic, because this is my high street membership. It's called the Sales Academy, very posh with gold writing. But my goodness me, this is such a wonderful experience for you to be part of. And I want to make sure everyone who joins me knows about the high street, because then it cements everything we've just talked about. What happens is you have this wonderful array of shops, and they're all fictitious, obviously. It's on a website. And each shop represents an area where you can learn, where you can connect with each other, and where you can belong as a community. So we have a coffee shop, and we have the box office to book your weekly live events that we have with experts and with Q&A with me and with open mics for the members. It's a really wonderful place, and the sweet shop is the best. My dad ran a sweet shop when I grew up as a little girl, so how else could I position my membership if it wasn't on a high street of shops? And the sweet shop is where the pick and mix is of learning, and it's all video lessons, all backing up everything we say in every one of these webinars, which I'm now doing monthly, normally at £47 a month. But if you join by midnight on Friday, I have a very special offer for you, because this is what I would like to offer you: a £35 a month, which is the price for life. So that means it doesn't go up. And this is the monthly membership. You can stay as long as you like in this membership. But when you really want support and you don't necessarily want to go into a full-on one-to-one program, the membership gives you all of that backup that you want. But guess what else I'm going to give you, just because you are wonderful? I'm going to give you a complimentary 30-minute coaching session. Now, this one is one-to-one. So by booking in as a member, you get this too. So guys, if you wanted to go through a discovery call in 30 minutes, my goodness me, we could nail that. So there you have it. That's the offer. That is on until midnight on Friday evening. That's UK time, guys, if you're not here. So I think actually you get a bit longer if you're on the other side of the pond. But remember that this offer ends at midnight UK this Friday. So that's it, guys. Now, I want to just switch to my gallery view. See if you're all still there. I think you are, actually. Has anyone got any questions about all of that amazing information that I just completely brain dumped on you? Questions. You can unmute if you want to ask a question. You don't have to type it in the chat necessarily. Oh, Debbie, I can't see what you've said. Debbie, unmute and tell us, darling.
I just said I've been a member for about a month, and I need to go shopping because I suddenly got really quite busy.
Come on the high street, come on down and see us. I think the nice thing is it's just at your leisure, Debbie, so it's like you can do it whenever you want because it's in there, which is lovely. But I know you have sort of obviously booked in to come to some stuff as well in the future, so it would be lovely to see you. So thank you for that. Thank you.
I sell into the wedding industry. I'm a wedding musician, and Probably the thing that at the moment that I don't do is to keep my mind fresh on my offer.
Yeah,
My three levels. I've
good.
done pricing. I know why I'm doing it. I know what the problem is I'm solving. I know who my ideal client is. But I don't know. It's a very strange time at the moment because there's an awful lot of interest in what I'm doing, but people are very much still holding back. It's still the dregs of COVID. So I
Yeah.
actually see this year is going to be quite difficult. And strangely enough, I'm getting more teaching coming through and I'm not advertising for that at all. So it's really weird.
It's interesting, isn't it, though? And this is what we said in the webinar, and you quite rightly say, Debbie, you've got to kind of just keep going with it all and keep in touch with it all, because everybody's needs change, especially with COVID. My goodness, I think one of the webinars I did was selling in a pandemic. If any of you want to look that up, because that's so interesting in our behavior. Again, it's psychology and behavior, isn't it? That's always the thing that kicks in. But interesting that you've also got these two sides of your business where you can teach, but equally you can entertain. Fabulous.
Yeah,
fabulous.
Teaching. I'm rather,
well,
I was hoping to get rid of it,
but I think it's like me, Debbie. You know, I'd hate to do. Let's say I'd hate to do cold calling for somebody, but my goodness, I could if I needed to. You know, and it's just kind of that, isn't it? Where you have to flex sometimes, but ultimately, we want you to do what you love. You know, that's the real key thing to it all. So. But thank you for the comment, Debbie. Any other questions, guys? If you haven't got a question, or if you don't want to ask now, you can always message me and connect with me. Please do. And we will be sending out an email that just gives you the replay, and it gives you lots of opportunity to say hello and connect. And I have a free Facebook group as well called the Sales Hub. We have lots of fun in there. So you could always join that if you needed to as well. Vanessa, I'm having a virtual couple with you, I think. Is it tomorrow?
We are. I do have a question.
Yeah.
Actually, it might be too long. I'm a strategic grant writer, well, you know, and a philanthropy consultant. I don't put pricing on my website for the very fact of what you talked about, the discovery call. And by the time I get to the proposal stage, my clients honestly see the value. So pricing isn't really, I've only been in business for about 8 months, and everyone seems to accept what I propose. So I'm thinking, am I even charging enough? Because there's never really been any major discussions. However, what other people, you know, do put pricing up on their website. I mean, is there pros and cons? Like, I don't feel comfortable putting my prices up there because I have a very sort of tailored consultancy business. But what are your thoughts on that? Like, especially from a package perspective?
Oh gosh, it's so interesting. And you know, again, not a right or wrong answer, if I'm really honest. I think it's very subjective, Vanessa. But what I do think is that in a sense, you have an element of, if it's a higher ticket type of product, you really do want to be able to sell the value of it and it not be about price. So actually, it could be that you don't look to put a price on for the higher ticket, but actually the smaller, lower value ladder stuff, like maybe a one-to-one session. I do an Express 30, which is a 30-minute call. It's £75. Quite happy to put that price on because it's a set price. So I think it really is about what your business looks like, what your customers expect as well, because some customers may want to come to a website and actually see your price in order to even speak to you. So there's going to be different levels, I think, of whether it's a right or wrong thing. And that's not me trying to cop out, but it genuinely isn't a clear-cut answer, Vanessa. So that would be my answer to that.
Yeah, I didn't think it was. I thought I'd bring it up in case anybody else was kind of thinking the same thing.
Yeah,
like I've seen both scenarios, and I'm more comfortable not putting the pricing on so I can I'm not locked in to something. Otherwise, it looks like you're discounting, right?
Yeah,
so I get it. I get it.
Yeah, no, it's right. And I think as individuals, whatever your business is, it could be that you have that discussion as a one-to-one, because I think there's a lot to explore individually on that one. Definitely. Yeah. Any more questions before we wrap up for the night? And thank you so much for joining. Sarah, were you going to say something?
Yeah.
Yeah, there you were. Go for it.
My comment. Yeah, I was just sort of thinking, in terms of, I've got my workshops that I'm relaunching in September, and I have sort of like a gold, silver, bronze option and all those sorts of things. Although I really like the idea of what you've said about renaming them and giving them a bit more personality and things.
Yeah.
The thing that I struggle with is I know sort of my ideal customer, I know the problems it can solve, but I don't necessarily know how to just bring that into a really good sales piece that sells it like on the website and sells it, you know, how to communicate it. And is that something that you have in your little high street in terms of how to bring it's communication and copy really that I struggle?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's more and more lessons we'll go into, like there's lessons in there already, and then there'll be more lessons that come in. So actually, one of the big things that I've been talking about is the hell and heaven. And actually, Sarah, I think I'm pretty sure you and I may even have spoken about this way back, but hell and heaven exercise is something that really, really helps with the messaging around when you're writing something like a sales page or copy for your website. And it's about this conversation that says to your customers, I know who you are and I know how you feel. And look, you know, I felt that way too, but here's what I discovered and here's what I now do, you know, and it's that hell to heaven value journey. When you really nail that in your own business as an exercise, what happens is your copy starts to really flow because you know how to then write this conversation. I always think about it as have a conversation in your copy, because I think that's really smart way to do it. We see it more and more now, I think, but that would be definitely in the high street. There's definitely lessons around hell and heaven, around value journey. And so all of those lovely bits start to get you thinking, oh yeah, I kind of know how to write this now, because I know you write beautifully anyway. So then you do, you're better than you think you are, I'm sure, but that would really, really help you to write the story around the journey that you take them on. So,
yeah, I think that's what happens with me is that then when someone starts, when I have to talk and present to someone and they ask, well, what do the workshops do? I haven't got that sales pitch nailed confidently enough.
And a
lot
lot of
struggle with.
Yeah, and a lot of that is exactly what we've talked about in this webinar, and those just like taking that as a generic learning and really honing it into your business and saying, right, okay, let's map this out, because I know who my ideal customer is, which is what you said. So actually we can do this. We can really step into their world and feel who they are. You know, it's all about emotions for me, because I think that's how we really do connect, you know.
Yeah.
So be quite exciting to see whether that was helpful for you, Sarah.
Yeah, no, it was. Yes, it was. Great, thank you.
It's lovely to see you as well. So.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, any more questions, guys, before we go? Don't be shy.
I just wanted to just to say earlier on when you mentioned about doing your packages, then you said about doing bundles instead. I was really pleased that you said that, because people have said to me a few times about doing packages, but I sell a really luxury, high-priced afternoon tea. So doing a budget version just goes against everything that my idea wants and what I stand for. So I started doing these bundles. So I do a birthday bundle and I do, you know, these kinds of things. So I was glad you said that, because it just kind of just reinforced that actually that's
the right thing.
To do that before. And I think that's great.
And Caroline, you know, there's something else about your ideal customer, just because it might not be that they just always want that high, you know, value, beautiful, what do you call it? A basket or something. You call it?
Afternoon tea gift box.
The gift box, that's it. It might be that they want to go and do something really quick and want just a mini version of it. It doesn't mean it'll be any less quality. It'll just mean that it may be another way that you can bundle it up. I get really excited around people's businesses because I get all creative and start thinking of things they can do. But ultimately it is, as I said, it's reaching the market at different stages, but it doesn't mean it's changing your ideal customer. So don't be frightened of that. Don't be too frightened that you're actually still not serving the ideal customer, because you probably are. So I love that. I love what you've done. Thank you for that. Any more, guys? It's so nice to see you all. I love doing these. I'm going to be doing one in August. I'm trying to do one a month now. So before you go, if you want to pop in the chat what you would love to see on a webinar, if there's one really key subject you'd love to see covered, obviously sales related. then it would be really good to know. Because, you know, we have said discovery calls as well, haven't we? So I'm very happy to put one of those together. But I hope you've enjoyed it. It's been so nice to see new faces and my lovely, lovely friends across the water, across the pond. I hope you've enjoyed it, and it's been super to see your beautiful faces. So do connect, stay in touch, and remember the offer finishes at midnight on Friday UK time. Great to see you all, guys.
Thanks very much, Jules. It was great.
It's funny to see your face, Jules, after being on Clubhouse.
Oh yeah, amazing, isn't it? I'm going to see you again tomorrow.
Yes, you will. There might be a puppy in the picture. We'll see how that goes.
Lovely to see you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Take care.